Hi, all. This is Lyndsey Beatty of Gaming Insurrection. I am editor in chief, and I am doing the systems video for issue 46. This is the issue that is devoted to Vampire, the vampire fighting series produced by Capcom, which has been long dormant, but from time to time gets releases, gets shout outs, and Capcom remembers that they actually made it. So, this issue, we decided we were going to do something with Vampire, and that we were going to do something very similar like our Super Turbo section that we worked on a couple of issues ago. So, in this issue, we're doing a deep dive on Vampire and what it means to play Vampire. So, if you don't know, Vampire was first released in 1994 in arcades, and in America it is called Darkstalkers. So it's it has a love hate relationship. Capcom loves to change the name of the system for it, and whatever. There's a weird naming convention going on here. So in Japan, it's called Vampire. And similarly, later games are Vampire Hunter and Vampire Savior. In America, it's Dark Stalkers 1 and 2 and 3. Um, so yeah, it's kind of weird. Dark Stalkers is really cool, but I I like Vampire, even though the series really isn't about vampires. It is about a vampire, but it's not really about vampires. So what we're gonna do is not solely about it. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna talk about uh, what it means to play vampire and the systems that are in place for each game. So I'm gonna walk you through my playthrough of Vampire 1, 2, and 3, and just the first three games. We're not focusing on Vampire Hunter 2 and Vampire Savior 2 because they're unnecessary, to be quite honest. They're very unnecessary. So that's what we're doing here. So we're going to get started. Um, and the first game we're starting with is Vampire. So we're starting with the arcade intro, and I used Capcom Fighting Collection to record all of this. Um, it was a very, very good tool, and I very much appreciated it. I went out and bought it specifically so that I would have modern Vampire access. I also have the PlayStation 2 collection, so at first I didn't want to get that, but here we are. Alright, so it shows up in free play mode because this is the arcade version of Vampire. And it is Vampire the Night Warriors. So, we're going to start in arcade mode and pick 3 for the fast speed. And here I was trying to really show off the character select screen, and accidentally chose Felicia because time ran out. So my first opponent is the Shaman, which I love the art style of this first game. It is so good. So in the first game, you'll notice immediately it's more like a traditional Street Fighter game. There are 2 rounds. There's also 2. The special meter drains until you actually use it. Once you fill it up, it starts draining. It's kind of like SNK mode in Capcom vs. SNK. There is no special like level 3 super yet, but it's very traditional Street Fighter at this point, minus the whole special meter draining. Ooh, yay. So Felicia won, which is actually very interesting. So next opponent is Victor, and so I'm trying to think of more things to deal with the systems here. The first game had a lot of interesting things going on in terms of systems. It really was trying to mimic what they already knew how to do in Street Fighter, and so it plays a lot like Super Turbo, which is great because Super Turbo was pinnacle Street Fighter 2. So there's room for improvement here, but, and I can say this with confidence, having come back again and played this much later after I'd already played the first game a little bit back in the day, I actually enjoy playing the first game a lot more. It looks a lot like Street Fighter as well. Street Fighter 2, I should say. So she defeated Victor. I do pretty well here in this match. I like the fact that they travel around to each location where the different characters are, and they also tell you what the character is. So like Anakaris is a mummy, Felicia is a catwoman, because we're on Anakaris. I thought that was interesting. That they told you in the beginning what each character type was. That helps. It was a little bit getting used to, because I'm used to playing Vampire Savior a lot, so it was a lot getting used to here, going back to this style of vampire play. Even though I'm used to playing Street Fighter, it was and I like this collection, the Capcom Fighting Collection, because it is the arcade perfect port. It is basically emulating the arcade, so it's a really good port. I very much appreciated it, and I enjoy playing using this version of it. So now we're at Dimitri. Dimitri, tears. So in this one, Felicia is not top tier. Dimitri is mid tier. I'm pretty sure that's how this worked. He's not top tier, and neither is she. But by the time you get to Vampire Savior, Felicia is much better off. She's great for fast gameplay and doing a lot of damage very quickly. Also know that I also have that my damage is up pretty high, and the computer's not doing as much damage to me as I'm doing to them. It's Morgan, who is the face of the franchise. Morgan is fairly high tier here. Anakaris is high tier in this one, in the first game. Victor is never top tier. He's always in the lowest tier. I also was trying to figure out why the computer was doing all the jumping around with Morgan. It's a lot of jumping. Yeah, it's a lot. Also, I noted that Morgan, I think, only has like one super here. It's weird. Like, she does not have any of her later supers. And she noted that earlier she shot a giant fireball and she did a special, but there are no EX special moves here. So it's kind of weird. I don't know what's going on. There are no ES special moves in the first game. So I assume that was her super, was that she shot giant soul fist. I don't know. Morgan is the quintessential Darkstalker. Also note that the combo system here is not the Vampire Savior model just yet, but and the Vampire Hunter chain model, but we're getting there. You can see it's coming. Also, I am playing the Japanese version of the game. I'm not playing the American version. You can tell by the fact that all of the dialogue and stuff is in Japanese. Also, the names of the characters, like Galen here, who is John Talbane in the American version. John Talbane's not top tier here. He is rather mid-tier. He gets exponentially better by the time you get to Savior. He's a good character. Very, for me, I feel like he's super generic, but he's a good character. And also, too, we get into the bios later in the issue. We will be talking about those in Retro Game Corner, so keep your eye out for that. It's the main part of Retro Game Corner this issue. Felicia and John Talbane actually like so improved from this game to the next, and then again by the time Vampire Savior came out, they were much improved and very, very high tier, but not here, not in the first game. They are not. The Shaman's fairly high tier too. Another one, Zabel Zarok, better known as Lord Raptor. He is not top tier here. He's very mid tier here. But by the time of Vampire Savior, he is absolutely god tier. He is fantastic in Vampire Savior. So yeah, he got better as he went along also. I feel like this is moving so fast. At level 3, it moves so fast. The gameplay is just super fast. So, there's a lot going on here. Zabel Zarok is very weird, and he reminds me a lot of Dawson. So yeah, he's very interesting as a character, and very interesting playstyle. Let's see, Albus. Ooh, no, Albus, who is also Rikio in the American version. Albus is he's consistently top tier. You wouldn't think so, but his up close game is very good. He also has a lot of stun moves. So that helps. That helps a lot in Vampire. You need to stop your opponent from moving a lot. So, see, he just did his stun move. So, it's like a Sonic Echo. Once I fought against him and I actually went in training mode and started using him, I was like, oh, okay, I see why he's top tier. He's even got a Psycho Crusher and Dawson's drill kicks. So yeah, I could see why he was fairly top tier here. He's a good character. I actually really like the way he plays. I just don't play him a lot. My mains are Morgan. In the first game is Morgan. Morgan and Bishaman. I actually really like Bishaman. Because I like Samurai, so there's that. So, now Sasquatch. So Sasquatch is another interesting one. He gets better as he goes along. He is top tier by the time of Vampire Savior. I'm pretty sure he's top tier. He's kind of ridiculous, to be quite honest. He's kind of ridiculous. He does a lot of damage, which is why you don't want him hitting you at all. Now I kind of destroyed him really quickly, but see, he's got a nice stun move too. Oh, it's kind of sad. I beat the Bigfoot. He's really cute. He's super cute. I am not a fan of Felicia, actually, which is why I said I accidentally picked her. I'm not a fan of Felicia. Okay, so now we're at Phobos, and Phobos / Butsu. I do not like Phobos at all. Phobos is not top tier, but Phobos does a lot of damage. Very quickly, or he can. And his beams have super high priority. There's a video that I will do later that shows me fighting against Phobos, probably in Vampire Hunter, and Phobos literally stopped me from doing everything by shooting beams repeatedly. He has super high priority because he's considered a boss character. He's like a almost at the end boss. Phobos is very interesting. but he does a lot of damage if you let him. So we beat Phobos pretty cleanly. And now it's on to the big bad Mr. Pyron. So also too, what you need to understand about the first and second game is that the storyline of the first is basically retold in the second game. That's why you also fight Pyron and Phobos in the second game also as the bosses. Because all the second game is a retelling of the first, storyline wise. So we beat Pyron. Pyron can be very difficult. And Pyron was getting anti-airs at will here. Every time I came over there and tried to do something, he hit me with something. I mean, every time he did like his little rolling wheel attack, fire wheel attack. Every single time I jumped over there. So it was kind of obnoxious. So we defeated Pyron. We beat the game. So you kind of get the ending for Felicia. It's in Japanese. I don't like Felicia. I have no idea what's going on here other than they're interviewing her and they're all like, oh, it's a cat lady and she's got these cat ears. Like, what's wrong with her? Why is she looking like a cat? But she's kind of hot. Yeah, it's basically what's happening here. So she sets up like her own thing for herself. And she's like super rich now. So I get to put my initials in. Yeah, I don't like Felicia. I'm not a fan of the whole anthropomorphic cat lady thing being super cute. I mean, if she played decent, I would be like, okay, alright, I use Felicia. No. No. So, now, we're going to do Vampire Hunter. So, Vampire Hunter, I like the attract mode here. The attract mode is very, very cool. So you start out picking your speed, and then you pick your character. And I actually really like this character select screen too. Music's cool. So I picked Cienko, who was another one. Her name changed. And our first opponent is Bishaman. Now Bishaman is still rather top tier here, so in Vampire Hunter. Bishaman's cool. I really like Cienko's design. I really like her character design. She's super cool. So, yeah, she has a lot of weird tricks up her sleeve. She is technically not top tier at all. She's actually considered very mid tier. And I see why. It takes a lot. You got to do a lot of work with her to really get going and get damage going. Some characters is just super easy to do a lot of damage, but with her, you got to work for your wins here. So I understood why she was mid tier. She's mid tier in Vampire Savior also. I mean, the concept of her is so cool. I really, really like her. Like, when I first started playing and I saw her for the first time, I was like, what is happening here? She looks interesting. So, yeah, I don't know. But she has to work for all of her damage, and it's a lot of work for a little bit of reward. Like, when she does her gong move, like, it does not go very far. So also here too, note that there are certain things that have been kept over from Vampire. So there are still 2 rounds. Your special meter, however, does not decrease. It stocks and beyond 1 level, and it does not decrease. draining like the first one. Ooh, mirror match. We're doing a mirror match. So, this one, fighting against her is always interesting with her. But fighting against her is interesting and fun. But there's a lot of reversals now. You can do reversals. There is, it's a little bit more streamlined and it plays a lot more smoothly. That is what I like about Vampire Hunter. It plays a lot more smoothly than Vampire did. Vampire still played pretty cleanly because, like I said, it's based off of Super Turbo, so it's not going to be. It's very clean. Like, they already knew what they need, the base they needed to start with. So, that was what made that. Now, also too, here I want to point out that what I did at the very end of that round versus Cienko, I did what's called a pursuit. Pursuits did not come until this game. They were not in the first game. The pursuit is like you knock him down and you follow up with an attack that is an off the ground. Like, well, not really off the ground, but it's like you have to tap up and like kick, and you can go over and you do an automatically do like a follow-up attack as they're on the ground. That they cannot block unless they can't block it, but they can dodge it if they roll. So I just did it again after I did the super. I can't remember what the name of it is. I think it's Tenry. I can't remember it, but it's where she drops the anvil and all of the spikes fall out. It's not Tenry Ha, because Tenry Ha is the one where the spikes come out of the ground. But once you learn about pursuit, I noticed though in high level play, there's not a whole lot of pursuits going. They don't tend to do a lot of pursuits, so that's interesting. But I learned mostly because most people roll out of the way, so you know you're not getting that pursuit. You're not gonna land it cleanly. You're not gonna get it. She got that super off. I was like, oh, she was determined to get that super off there. Felicia did. So, yeah, I was kind of mad because I keep wasting the gong, and it's like, yeah, can I do my super? So every time you saw me trying to jump up and nothing came out, I was trying to do a super. I got a time over, which is weird. I don't like doing time over, but sometimes you gotta lame them out. Next opponent is Gallon. He's infinitely better here in Vampire Hunter, as we talked about in the Vampire section here of this video. Gallon is much better by the time you get to Vampire Hunter. For whatever reason, he's got a little bit more priority. And he's faster. He ran into that. I always try to do a lot of multi-hit moves, get combos, because here damage scaling is not really a thing. It is, but I kind of like getting that damage added on, and I also like trying to get my pursuits. I know that the computer's probably not going to roll after I do my knockdown, so I always try to go for pursuits against AI characters, AI control characters. If I'm fighting a human character, if I'm fighting someone human, I'm not gonna do a pursuit, more than likely, especially if they know what they're doing. It doesn't make sense to try to do that. You just open yourself up for a possible attack or combo. I like that super. It does so much damage. You can get it to work. The only problem is, and I see why she's not top tier, you can do that super, but you have to be very aware of your level of impact. Your impact area, because if they aren't close to you, it might not do you any good. Yay, we get to fight Dimitri. Dimitri, for being the protagonist, is still mid-tier. He's not all that great. He's just kind of middling. He's really the Ryu of the game, really. And not the top tier Ryu. So there's that. Dimitri's alright, but he's not my favorite character at all. Dimitri is very, very consistent to fight against, though, because you would think he'd have better impact. I have watched high level play of Dimitri, and it is very good. I mean, he's a very good character, but in terms of, if you know what you're doing, anybody can be a good character. But Dimitri is not my favorite. I like how he avoided my super, and that's what I meant about being aware of your impact area when you do that super. He wasn't close by me. He was on the other side of the screen, and he very easily dodged it and teleported and did a drill kick. So yeah, that was not smart. Here we are with Mr. Albert again. He's top tier, or very close to top tier here. And I see why. I could get very little headway against him. He was tearing me up. He blocked a lot of my stuff, and he did his miss. See, that's a stun move. His super, which I learned, is if you can hit him while it's starting up, you don't suffer the effects of the water. I learned that in this match. I was under the impression you would get tagged if you got hit by it. So if you got hit by any part of it, but apparently not. Like I say, he's got a good repertoire of moves. He's got decent priority. Now, the only thing is that his startup on that mist takes a long time. But once he gets that mist going, he can stun you very quickly. Alright, we are now fighting Donovan. Now, as much as I love Donovan's character and I love his character design, Donovan is not top tier. He is very middling tier here. Very middling tier. Matter of fact, one could say he's almost low tier. My only thing with Donovan is he got a lot of gimmicks, but nothing works particularly well and makes him top tier. Dialect, his sword, is cool, but I mean he doesn't do anything spectacularly well here. His supers are hard to really, like his super with the press with the foot is hard to judge it. You leave yourself open with dialect, planting dialect and then sending him out. Getting the reverse dragon punch with the his fire, lightning, and ice specials are hard. It's hard to play Donovan. It's very hard to play Donovan. You have to be real dedicated to Donovan. So we defeated him, and now we're on Zabel Barrock. Okay, so he's, like I said, he's got much better between now and Vampire. He's got a little bit more of a game here. He's a weird character, but once you get the hang of him, you can do so much with him. I have seen some incredible high-level play with Lord Raptor. I like how he threw me out of my super, which was actually very cool. That is how you get around her in that super. You just dodge her and you get away from her and you throw her. You get around her, and because she's stuck in the animation, she can't get out of the animation. She can't cancel it out and stop the super. So if you can get on the other side of her when she's dropping the giant spike balls, she's stuck. She's just sitting up and you have the advantage. He's he's very cool though. I like some of his supers are a little weird too, but like now that lightning super is great. But the one with Le Malta, his friend who he like plays basketball with all the time, is not so great. But the one with the lightning, he can travel the screen, just so much damage with it, and it's a stunning type. So yeah, it's great. So now we're at Phobos again. Yeah, good old Phobos. I mean, Phobos really hasn't changed, but he's still doing a lot of damage. Okay, this might be, I was gonna say, this might be it where he kept hitting me with beams. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of beams going. Oh, yep, that is a beam. And he hit me with one earlier. This might not be it though. It might be in Vampire. No, it's probably in this. It's gonna be in Vampire Savior, or it's gonna be in Vampire, and I'm pretty sure it's Vampire. I mean, not Vampire Savior. It's probably gonna be in Vampire Hunter because he's not in Vampire Savior in the arcade version. Ah, so it's beam number 1. That's beam number 2. Beam number 3. Oh, it was this. Beam number 4. Beam 5. Beam 6. Beam 7. Beam 8. Beam 9. He hit me with 9 beams. Beam 10. I think that's the last one. He hit me with 10 beams in one match. It was ridiculous. Like, I was just like, seriously? 10 beams? And he was trying to hit me with another one. I can't stand Phobos. let me be very honest. I can't stand Phobos. It was in this match. That was so obnoxious. 10 beams though? I can't. I cannot. Pyron. Okay, so Pyron is super obnoxious in this. I was trying to really beat him quickly because I really dislike fighting Pyron. I was doing a lot of damage to Pyron very quickly, so that was helpful. Thankfully, like I said, I turned up my damage, how much damage I was dishing out. She does have the spike super in this one. I just tried it for the first time, which was kind of weird, but I didn't do it all the way up until this last match with Pyron. Peter likes to jump back and shoot a lot of fireballs, so there's that. So this is the last round. The computer never actually like moved around or anything. I dislike fighting Pyron. He blocks everything, and it's a lot of cheap hits. I like that he ran into the ball though after he tried to dodge it. I was trying to do some stuff. I was trying to get something going here and really get a lot from him. But I did a lot of damage. Ooh, I'm so glad I got this on camera. So I blocked that super. That super does a lot of damage if you are not careful. It will do a lot. I actually do really like Pyron stage too. So in Sienko's ending, she and her sister. So the whole thing about Sienko is that her sister, they became a Chinese vampire. Okay, so Sienko herself turned into a Chinese vampire. She used a forbidden technique to turn into a Chinese vampire, known as a Jiangxi, to save her mother, who sacrificed herself to protect her daughters. Her sister is the paper ward that you see hanging in front of her face, and it is to keep her powers in check. So they defeated Pyron, but they too were almost sucked into the darkness. So their mother, in saving their mother from darkness, their mother came back and saved them, and had them reincarnated as twins in modern day. I thought that was sweet. I happen to know what's going on in this ending because I have beaten it with her a lot. I've beaten the game with her a lot. And so they talk about it, that they were 16 when they were on their 16th birthday. In the next game, they are on their 16th birthday. They are sucked into the Majigin by Jeddah. So that is Vampire Hunter. I love Vampire Hunter. It's very interesting. Like I say, her character design is very cool. But Vampire Hunter is very good. So I tried to do a little bit of staff role. As you can see, a little bit of it. Just a little bit. So now we are moving on to Vampire Savior, the Lord of the Vampire. It was gonna be entitled Jeddah's Damnation. And what I like here is you get an option of whether or not you can do you can do auto or turbo, auto blocking or turbo. And do either. Or just do the turbo. I prefer not doing the auto blocking. Just let me do it for myself. So now that we're on the new game, too, you'll notice immediately there are two changes here. One, it's much faster. Two, well, actually three changes. And really, Morgan has a lot more moves here. But the round system is gone. It's now a life marker. And also here, Dark Force mode. I just went into Dark Force mode. People gain new things in Dark Force mode. They either get new moves or they get like a shield, or they do they can do like turbo moves, or like you're spamming a turbo button. Because BB Hood does a lot of you do missiles, which are super high priority. So here too, the new characters are QB, BB Hood, Lilith, and Jeddah. Gone are Pyron, Phobos, and Donovan. I actually really, the QB is top tier. BB Hood is very high tier too. I've seen some great high level play with BB Hood. She is fantastic in this. QB can be too. Unfortunately, in Vampire Savior, Morgan is terrible, and I main Morgan. That's my problem. Like, wait, what do you mean she's terrible? Victor is of course still terrible, but that's terrible. This is also one of my favorite stages in the Forever Torment. I love this stage. It's pretty gruesome also too, if you notice what's going on in the background. A lot of torture devices and things. But I actually really like the background music for this. But yeah, Morgan is like very low tier in this. She cannot compete with the higher tier characters in this, which is terrible because I really enjoy playing Morgan. Ooh, she's not very good. And Lilith is actually better. And Lilith, I feel like it's a poor man's Morgan. Like, it's, ugh, but all right. But yes, there are new things in Vampire Savior, which is a complete change and much needed improvement over Vampire Hunter, which was a pretty solidly playing game. So that's kind of weird. Also, you fight less people, which is helpful. And you have very specific rival matches. So there's that. So here's our good old friend Sasquatch, who is top tier in this. This background too has a lot going on. They remind me of Victreebles from the plants in the background. Remind me of Victreebles from Pokemon, and an Ammonite in the background eating a very large fish. Because that is a giant shelled creature eating that fish. And some eggs of some sort. So, I do like the new round mechanic. I prefer that, actually. It is very similar, and I pointed this out in the written part of this, for the issue, for systems, that it is very similar to Killer Instinct. So yes, it is. It is a new mechanic, and it's pretty cool. I enjoy it. I like it a lot over the round mechanic. So we defeated Sasquatch, who, like I say, Morgan too has to work very, very hard for her wins in Vampire Savior. So I'm not surprised that she's not top tier. She has to work. She has to do a lot, and she cannot keep up with the faster characters. It's weird. Iron Horse, Iron Terror. And we're fighting Sieko, who in Japan is known as Lele. Yeah, she's not top tier in this either. As a matter of fact, she's very, very mid tier in it. She cannot keep up with the faster characters. The faster you are in Vampire Savior, probably the higher tier you are. Also, who's gonna get hit by Time Bomb? Like, no one's getting hit by that. Like, you could easily avoid it. You could do a trap to trap them, but who's gonna get hit by that? Absolutely no one. So I'm not at all concerned by Time Bomb at all. Also, Morgan's needle thing, you can see the startup coming a mile away, and it's very hard. The motion for it is extremely hard to do. That was a battle of the mid to low tier there. That was terrible. So yeah, I'm not sure why that was. That was not great. Jetta, who surprisingly is not top tier either. His stage is the best though, because Antichrist Baby in the background. So he created the Majigan for the baby, and used Ozone as the basis, which is kind of cool. Ozone, if you recall from Lord Raptor's background, is he tricked Jetta into opening up the gates to absorb the power. Now, I like Jetta, but Jetta's supers are terrible. You have to be like absolutely paying attention. And you have to be very aware. Yeah, I did more Dark Force. So Morgan gets a Shadow in Dark Force mode, which he made me waste. I was quite upset about that. Jetta's supers come out kinda, you have to be paying attention to not get hit by him, but Jetta is not top tier for a reason. I'm mad he didn't die from the bullets though. So Jetta is not my final boss. Even though he's the boss of the game, he's not my final boss. It is actually Lilith. Because Morgan's storyline is that Lilith is a part of her that was separated off, her power. So she's gotta like recombine with her. So that's what all of this dialogue is with Lilith, is that she's telling her, hey, Jetta told me that, you know, I was gonna get, you know, to be part of you. And Morgan's like, who are you again? So Morgan literally has no idea who Lilith is. She didn't even miss that part of her power. That's how strong Morgan was. GG, because she was gonna die after that hit. Dude, I think that's Valkyrie. Nah, it's not Valkyrie. I think she ate all the bullets though. I know some of the move names. Just right off the top of my head, a little bit. But yeah, Lilith is not top tier, obviously. There, you can see, obviously, if Morgan is not top tier, Lilith's not top tier. Ooh, she ate those GGs. She ate those bullets. She ate those bullets kinda hard. Um, so now I get my ending because I beat her. So what happens here is she recombines with her. She's like, "Oh, you were missing part of me. What do you mean?" She was like, I just suddenly existed." And she's like, "Okay, well, come be part of me again then. That's cool." So she basically like recombines with her. Um, she didn't feel anything. Like they tried to be like, "Oh, that's her sister." No, it's literally just a part of her. She feels more complete. But and she's saying here, "I wonder if it's because of that girl that I see things through a new set of eyes." Basically, so she's like part of her again, but she didn't like think of her as a sister. It's very highly suggestive too. So if you know what the storyline is about there, then you know. Um, I love Vampire Savior's uh cat, like the staff role. I love this song, so I kind of let the credits play a little bit. But it's I actually really like the soundtrack for Vampire, and we also covered that in beat.trip.game. I talked about my favorite tracks um, all three games. And one of them is the staff roll from Vampire Savior. A couple of tracks from Vampire Hunter. I think 2 tracks from Vampire, mostly from Vampire Savior though. It had the better soundtrack. I feel like it fit the game very well, and it reminds me a lot of Enigma, which is not terrible because Enigma was peak 90s weirdness. And that's what this is going for. It is very peak 90s weirdness. So Hyper Shin-chan is very much involved in a lot of Capcom fighting games. But yeah, I am very much enjoy playing this. As a trivia note, Yuji Ueda does the voice of Jin in Tekken. Isan Chiba is also heavily involved in a lot of fighting games, doing a lot of Street Fighter stuff. Hiroaki Kondo is in a lot of their stuff too, as is Noritaka Funomizu and Yoshiki Okamoto, who is very much involved and is considered the father of Street Fighter 2. Yeah, so that was Vampire Savior. As you can see, I've played a lot. I've played a lot. Those are my first initials, my initials in the first 2 slots. So this has been Vampire Savior, and Vampire as a whole. I hope you enjoyed it, and I want to thank you for watching.